My beloved child, stay with me, because the words reaching you in this moment are not arriving without meaning. You may have almost moved away. You may have thought this was simply another message passing across your screen, another voice you could return to later, another moment that could wait until tomorrow. But something inside you hesitated, and that hesitation matters. Don't look away now. There is a reason your heart has been searching for clarity even when you could not explain what you were searching for. There is a reason certain thoughts have returned in quiet moments, why certain memories have appeared without invitation, and why something within you has been asking whether your life is standing at the edge of a change you cannot yet see. The title said, "I will never talk to you if you skip this now." A big tragedy is coming your way. But listen carefully to what those words are pointing toward, because the deepest meaning is not what fear would have you imagine. This is not a message asking you to panic. It is a message asking you to wake up before something precious passes unnoticed. Sometimes the greatest tragedy is not something arriving from outside. Sometimes it is reaching the door you prayed would open and walking away one moment before it does. Sometimes it is receiving the answer you asked for but failing to recognize it because it arrived differently than expected. Sometimes it is spending so long staring at what disappeared that you never notice what quietly appeared in its place. Stay with me. What comes next changes everything. There is a spiritual symbol surrounding this moment, a door standing slightly open in a room filled with darkness, with one narrow line of light crossing the floor. Most people would stare at the darkness. But the wise heart notices the light. That narrow line represents what has been happening in your life. You have been shown fragments before being shown the whole picture. You have received pieces before receiving the explanation. You have felt changes before understanding their purpose. And because you could not see the entire path, you may have assumed nothing was happening. Yet behind the scenes, your perspective has been changing. Your patience has been changing. Your understanding of yourself has been changing. Even the things you no longer tolerate are revealing that you are not standing where you once stood. Don't skip. There is something deeper here. Think about the last season of your life. Think about how many times you wanted an immediate answer but received silence instead. Think about how often you wondered why something seemed delayed, why a connection became distant, why an opportunity seemed almost within reach and then disappeared, why you suddenly felt uncomfortable in places that once felt familiar. You called some of those moments losses. But what if some were redirections? What if certain closed doors were not declarations that you were forgotten, but invitations to stop knocking where your future was never meant to live? Your answer is closer than you think. And the surprising part is that you may already have seen the first sign without recognizing it. It could have been an unexpected realization. A conversation that stayed in your mind longer than it should have. A sudden desire to change something. A strange peace about releasing what you once desperately wanted. A moment when you looked at your own life and quietly thought, I cannot continue exactly like this. That thought was not insignificant. That was the beginning of awakening. This is where the story begins. Not with thunder. Not with spectacle. Not with something appearing from nowhere. It begins with awareness. It begins when you finally recognize that you cannot carry yesterday into every tomorrow and still expect tomorrow to feel different. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you in the meaning of this message. Imagine for a moment that you are holding a sealed envelope. You have carried it for years without knowing what it contains. Written across the front are the words, "Open when you finally understand why you had to wait." Every disappointment added another mark to that envelope. Every unanswered question made it heavier. Every night when you wondered whether your effort mattered became another page inside it. Now imagine finally opening it and discovering that it contains no prediction, no magical shortcut, but a mirror. And beneath that mirror are the words, "Look at who you became while you were waiting." That is the revelation. You have been watching circumstances so closely that you may have overlooked your own transformation. The person who entered this season is not exactly the person listening now. Something inside you has become more discerning. You recognize empty promises faster. You notice where your energy disappears. You understand that being needed is not the same as being valued. You are learning that silence can reveal more than explanations and that peace sometimes enters only after you stop forcing what refuses to fit. Don't look away now, because this is where the emotional twist begins. You thought the message was about something being taken from you. But perhaps the deeper message is about something you are finally being asked to stop giving away: your attention, your confidence, your time, your hope, your identity. The tragedy to avoid is abandoning yourself while waiting for someone else to choose you. It is forgetting your worth while trying to prove it. It is becoming so focused on a closed chapter that you miss the blank page already waiting beneath your hand. Stay with me. There are moments in life when one decision does not look important until years later. One quiet no, one brave yes. One decision to leave an old pattern behind. One morning when you decide you will no longer speak to yourself as though you are your own enemy. One evening when you stop chasing an explanation and allow peace to be enough. These moments rarely announce themselves as turning points. They simply arrive. And this may be one of them. Something huge is waiting for you, but you must understand what huge means. It does not always mean louder. Sometimes huge means finally sleeping peacefully after months of overthinking. Sometimes huge means recognizing the difference between attachment and alignment. Sometimes huge means realizing that the thing you thought would complete you was only teaching you what you truly needed. Sometimes huge means becoming comfortable enough with yourself that you stop accepting fragments simply because you are afraid of emptiness. What comes next changes everything, because the message becomes even more personal. There is a pattern you are being invited to notice. Something has repeated in your life, perhaps through different people, different situations, or different opportunities, but with the same emotional feeling. You become hopeful. You give everything. You wait. You question yourself. Then you wonder why you are back in the same place. But repeated patterns are not always punishments. Sometimes they are lessons wearing different clothes. The moment you recognize the lesson, the pattern no longer needs to keep introducing itself. And that is why this moment matters. The door is still slightly open. The line of light is still crossing the floor. You are being invited to walk toward it rather than spending another season explaining the darkness. Don't skip. Stay till the end. There is another symbol you need to see. Imagine a clock with no numbers, only 2 words written where the hands should be, before and after. You are standing between them. Behind you is everything you have already survived, understood, released, questioned, and carried. Ahead is everything that becomes possible when you stop defining yourself by what happened behind you. The mystery is that you cannot fully see the after while standing in the before. That uncertainty can feel uncomfortable, but uncertainty is not emptiness. A seed underground cannot see the garden either. It only knows that the shell surrounding it is breaking. If the seed could speak, perhaps it would call that breaking a tragedy. The gardener would call it growth. Remember that. Something in your life may currently feel as though it is breaking away, changing shape, or refusing to remain familiar. Before deciding that it means everything is falling apart, ask whether something might instead be opening. Your answer is closer than you think. There is another reason you were drawn into this message, and this is where the mystery deepens. Somewhere inside you is a question you have not been able to silence. You may not speak it aloud. You may even distract yourself whenever it appears. But it returns because it matters. Perhaps the question is, when will my life finally change? Perhaps it is, why did I have to experience that? Perhaps it is, will the thing meant for me ever find me? Perhaps it is simply, what am I supposed to do next? Stay with me, because the answer may not arrive as a sentence. It may arrive as recognition. You have been waiting for certainty before moving, while life has been waiting for movement before revealing certainty. That is the paradox. A hallway does not reveal what is around the corner while you remain standing at the entrance. Some clarity appears only after the first step. Don't look away now. What comes next changes everything. Imagine two versions of yourself standing before you. One is carrying every disappointment you have collected. Their hands are full. They cannot receive anything new because they refuse to put anything old down. The second version has the same history, but their hands are open. They remember everything, yet they no longer carry everything. Which version walks into your future? That choice is being made through tiny decisions right now. Every time you choose peace over unnecessary conflict, you open your hands. Every time you stop revisiting a situation that has already shown you what it is, you open your hands. Every time you forgive yourself for not knowing then what you know now, you open your hands. Every time you stop measuring your timeline against someone else's, you open your hands. And every time you decide that one disappointment does not get to write the ending of your story, you open your hands. This is where the story begins. The great tragedy mentioned in the title does not need to become your story. It can remain only a symbol of what happens when someone sleeps through their own transformation. The warning is not that you should live frightened of tomorrow. The invitation is that you should stop postponing your life. There are words you keep saying you will speak later. Dreams you keep promising you will begin when everything becomes perfect. Boundaries you know you need. Habits you know are draining you. Possibilities you keep dismissing because you are afraid of disappointment. How long will later be allowed to decide your life? Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, and it begins with understanding that your next chapter does not require permission from your previous one. There is a spiritual image I want you to hold, a river reaching a stone wall. From the river's perspective, the wall looks like the end. Yet water does something extraordinary. It does not argue with the stone. It searches for another direction. Eventually, it moves around it, beneath it, or through the smallest opening beside it. The obstacle changes the route without changing the destination. You have mistaken some changed routes for failed journeys. You thought because something did not happen the way you imagined, it could no longer happen in a meaningful way. But perhaps your life has been moving like that river. Quietly searching. Quietly redirecting. Quietly finding the opening you could not see. Your answer is closer than you think. And now comes the once-in-a-lifetime realization. There may be a future version of you who would give anything to return to this exact moment and whisper one sentence into your ear: do not underestimate what you are deciding right now. Because ordinary moments create extraordinary directions. The day you finally stop begging for what should be given freely changes something. The day you recognize that rejection can sometimes protect your time changes something. The day you understand that another person's inability to recognize your value does not reduce that value changes something. The day you choose consistency over temporary excitement changes something. The day you stop waiting to feel fearless before beginning changes everything. Don't skip. The next revelation is even deeper. You have been asking for a sign while becoming the sign yourself. Look at what no longer controls you the way it once did. Look at what used to ruin your entire day but now only occupies a few minutes. Look at the situations you once thought you could never survive emotionally, yet here you are, carrying wisdom that could only have been learned by walking through them. You may not feel powerful because growth rarely feels dramatic from inside the person experiencing it. A tree does not hear applause each time another ring forms beneath its bark. Yet year after year, it becomes stronger. You have been forming invisible rings. Patience. Discernment. Courage. Self-respect. Compassion. Wisdom. The world may not see every layer, but those layers are becoming the foundation for what comes next. Stay with me. Something huge is waiting for you. There is one more pattern hidden beneath all of this. You may have been treating delay as denial. You may have believed that because something did not arrive when you wanted it, it was never coming. But timing changes meaning. Imagine receiving something years before you had the wisdom to hold it. Imagine meeting someone before you knew how to recognize healthy connection. Imagine receiving influence before you learned discipline. Imagine receiving abundance before understanding responsibility. Sometimes the distance between desire and fulfillment is where capacity is built. That does not mean every delay guarantees the outcome you imagined. Sometimes the delay teaches you that you wanted the wrong thing. Sometimes it changes your definition of success entirely. That may be the most surprising gift of all. You begin praying for one door and eventually become grateful it never opened because you discover a landscape beyond anything that door could have contained. Don't look away now. What comes next changes everything. There is an emotional truth you need to hear. You do not need to understand every chapter in order to continue reading your story. Some explanations arrive years later. Some never arrive. Peace cannot depend entirely on receiving answers from every person who confused you. Closure sometimes comes when you stop asking someone else to finish a sentence that life has already completed. You are allowed to move forward without knowing every reason. You are allowed to become joyful before every mystery is solved. You are allowed to begin again without pretending the past never mattered. This is where the story begins, not where nothing difficult ever happened, but where what happened stops controlling what happens next. Stay till the end. You have not yet reached the deepest part. Imagine walking through an enormous gallery filled with paintings of every season of your life. Some paintings are bright. Some are gray. Some you would rather walk past quickly. But at the end of the gallery is an empty frame. You ask why nothing is inside it. And the answer is simple, because that one has not been painted yet. That empty frame is your reminder. Your future is not required to copy your past. The colors are not chosen. The scene is not finished. The people standing beside you are not all decided. The opportunities are not all known. The possibilities have not been exhausted. The tragedy would be walking away from the gallery believing the empty frame means nothing remains. No. It means something remains unwritten. Something remains possible. Something remains yours to participate in. Your answer is closer than you think. And now, stay with me, because the final movement of this first revelation is where everything you have heard begins to connect. You were brought through the image of the open door, the seed beneath the ground, the river meeting the wall, the two versions of yourself, and the empty frame for one reason. Every symbol carries the same message. Do not confuse transition with ending. Do not confuse silence with absence. Do not confuse uncertainty with failure. Do not confuse the closing of one possibility with the closing of your entire future. Don't look away now. There is something you need to understand before you leave this moment. The strongest transformation often happens quietly. There may be no announcement when you finally outgrow an old version of yourself. No bell rings when you stop needing someone's approval. No crowd appears when you decide to respect your own boundaries. No spotlight turns on when you choose to begin again. Yet those quiet decisions can reshape years of your life. What comes next changes everything because your greatest revelation is not about predicting some mysterious event. It is about recognizing that you have more influence over your next chapter than fear has allowed you to believe. You cannot control every circumstance. You cannot control every person's choices. You cannot guarantee that every plan unfolds exactly as imagined. But you can choose what you carry. You can choose what you repeat. You can choose where you place your attention. You can choose whether disappointment becomes an identity or simply a chapter. You can choose whether yesterday becomes a teacher or a prison. That choice is powerful. This is where the story begins. Something huge is waiting for you. Not because you were promised an effortless road, but because you are finally beginning to understand how much possibility exists when you stop walking backward while asking life to move forward. There is a surprising emotional twist hidden in the sentence, "I will never talk to you if you skip this now." Perhaps what disappears when you keep skipping meaningful moments is not a divine voice but your own ability to hear the wisdom already growing inside you. Life speaks quietly. Through patterns. Through consequences. Through peace. Through discomfort. Through intuition shaped by experience. Through the moment you finally become tired of repeating what hurts. If you constantly run from stillness, you may miss those lessons. So this message is asking you to become present. Not frightened. Present. Stay with me. Listen to the silence beneath all the noise. There is something you already know. You know which part of your life needs honesty. You know which promise to yourself you have postponed. You know which habit keeps pulling you backward. You know which dream keeps returning no matter how many times you dismiss it. You know where you have been settling simply because beginning again feels uncertain. Your answer is closer than you think because some part of the answer has been living inside that knowing. Don't skip. Not because something terrible will happen if you move away, but because your own life deserves your attention. There is a difference between urgency and fear. Fear says, something terrible is coming. Wisdom says, something important is happening now. Choose wisdom. The moment in front of you matters because it is the only place where decisions can actually be made. Yesterday can be remembered. Tomorrow can be imagined. But only now can be changed. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you in that realization.